First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. So, the topic today is going to be talking about the defiled bread that we are eating today, right? How all the food that we eat in this society is bullshit, right? It's all been polluted, and ultimately, this is part of our punishment, right? This is happening to us because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments, right? Just another punishment that we have to go through. And just to get straight to the point, to more elaborate, let's go straight into it. This is Ezekiel 4 and 13, and it's talking about the defiled bread. And it says, And the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai said, Even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them, right? And that's happening here today in Babylon the Great, aka America, right? All the food that they put out is either genetically modified, right? GMO food, or has um, chemicals that you're not supposed to be eating, right? It literally has shit in it from animals, right? They're already thinking about developing lab grown meat, which I'll go into. Like, there's so many things that this devil, Esau Edom, the so called white man, is pushing that is totally contrary to the scriptures, right? It's totally defiled, polluted. So, knowing this, we have to move circumspectly and move with wisdom on what we eat, right? We can't just be complete fools and eat fast at the fast food chains every single day, because the food is literally killing you from the inside out. So, I have a couple articles here I'm going to go into, just bringing out some facts about this. So, the first one is bugs, rodent hair, and poop. How much is legally allowed in the food you eat every day? And this is a fact, right? The government can literally put shit in your food, and there's a certain percentage that they can do. So, um, right here, unfortunately, jelly and jam are not as controlled. Apple butter can contain an average of 4 or more rodent hairs for every 3.5 ounces. Let's see. There's a lot of information, and it just has the breakdowns of how much percent you can have in the food. Let's see, right here it says asparagus can contain 40 or more scary looking teensy thrips for every 1/4 pound. If those aren't around, FDA inspectors look for beetle eggs, entire insects or heads, and body parts. Frozen or canned spinach is allowed to have an average of 50 aphids, thrips, and mites. If those are missing, the FDA allows larvae of spinach worms or eats whole leaf minor. Right, so all the food we eat, how I just talked about, is defiled. So we have to make sure that what we're eating is not some bullshit, right? Can't just be going and fucking eating out all the time, right? We have to make food ourselves if possible, because we know this, right? This is ultimately killing us. But yeah, next article I have here. This is Americans eat long list of food banned in other countries, right? And it goes on to say here that the Ritz crackers, Gatorade, Wheat Thins, Frosted Flakes, and Coffee Mate Creamer are just some of the items banned in other countries because of some ingredients they contain, right? And how come they ban it in these other countries and they don't ban it here in the U.S., right? Ultimately, it's because they're oppressing us, and that's all they care about, right? The majority of Jake is here in America, right? Over there in Great Britain and Europe, there's more Edomites than anything. There's more white people, right? They're more um their style of thinking, their way of living is not fully westernized, right? We know that ultimately it is westernized to a point because all nations have drank of that juice, right? The Babylonian mentality, um, but ultimately it's not as um, severe as here in the West, right? And if we read right here, it says Skittles, Pop Tarts, Gatorade, Yummy Little Debbie's. These are all things that are banned in the EU, but not here in the US. And these are common foods that Americans eat, right? On the daily, they're eating this shit. And the product it has is this right here. Yellow 5, yellow 6, red 40, blue this, blue that. These colors, if you actually look what they are, it's really just um, petroleum. You're literally eating petroleum, right? So let's go into this. Red dye 40 is a synthetic color additive or food dye made from petroleum, right? This is why you're not supposed to be eating this because it's a synthetic chemical that's made out of petroleum. And one thing about petroleum is that your body, it cannot get rid of this chemical, right? Your body doesn't have a means to excrete it and get rid of it. So what happens is that after a while of eating all these types of foods that have these chemicals, it builds up in your system because they can't get rid of it, and you start developing diseases and your body parts start shutting down, right? Because ultimately you're not supposed to be eating no damn petroleum, right? That has negative side effects, negative health effects. So that build up, it just keeps building up and building up till you have cancer and you die. Okay? So just um be wise about what you eat, because how they say in this world, you are what you eat, and that's actually the truth, right? That's why the Israelites have the law, statutes, and commandments about the foods, because we ain't supposed to be eating no pork, no shrimp, no lobster, no crab, because those things are not clean, right? If you actually look, if I'm correct, pork has um, disease that can't be eaten. Uh, yeah, what is trichinosis? Trichinosis is a food-borne disease caused by a microscopic parasite called Trichinella. People can get this disease by eating raw or undercooked meat from animals infected with the parasite. Often these infected meats come from wild game such as bear or pork products, right? Um, I'm not sure. I don't think this is what I was trying to find. Pork has um, virus you get can't get rid of. Yeah, it might be the trichinosis, if that's correct. But ultimately, what I was trying to say is that pork has this it has something that you literally cannot get rid of it, and it's um terrible for your health. It's like a disease or a parasite or something, but it's something that you can't get rid of it in pork. And that's one of the reasons we're not supposed to be eating pork, right? Ultimately, because it's unclean, and it's not the purpose of a pork or swine, right? Just how the shrimp, lobsters, and crabs, we're not supposed to be eating those because they have a purpose in the ocean, and they're the bottom feeders, right? They clean the ocean. When you eat one of those animals, you're literally eating their shit. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But no, let's see what else we can see. Coffee Mate, Ritz, Pillsbury biscuits, hydrogenated soybean and cottonseed oils. Yeah, like all these vegetable oils are terrible for your health, right? If you're gonna get any oil, make it olive oil, an olive oil um, that is not bad, right? You have to buy the expensive olive oil that has a date on the back, because the olive oil can go rancid, and then all the effects that it had, they're not there anymore. So if you go to buy olive oil in the store, you want to get the one that has a date of when it was harvested and a date of when it's good for, and it says it in the back. Usually those are the ones that cost a little more. Okay, but to keep going, this is Micah. and we'll start at 2 and 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand." And who is that? The so-called white man, right? Esau, Edom. Because it talks about in Job how the hand, Salakia, talks about in Job how the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, right? And who is the wicked? Esau, Edom, right? They devise iniquity and work evil even when they're sleeping. And it says, "And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage," right? They constantly oppress us and just, they're literally trying to destroy the Israelites. But the point I like here too is that they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. And part of the Israelites' heritage is the law, statutes, and commandments. And what they're doing with all this food, right, this defiled bread, all these laws, is that they're oppressing our heritage, right? Everything they do is against our heritage. So we can't trust this devil, man. We can't trust the so-called white man, Esau Edom, because everything he does is literally just to try to kill us, right? Like right here, lab-grown meat, right? Another thing that they're implementing. That guy, Bill Gates, other words known as Kill Gates. He was talking about growing, like, let's just go into the article, right? Lab grown fat promises flavor boost for cultivated meat. Lab grown chicken meat is getting closer to restaurant menus and store shelves. Let's see this one on ABC News. Um, In the last 5 months, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has cleared 2 American producers of lab-grown meat to bring their producers to market, finding no questions about the company's claims the protein is safe for human consumption. Though critics still have concerns about the industry's financial viability relative to long-term output. Right, so the FDA cleared 2 American producers, and they didn't have any questions for him about the safety of this, right? Right, no questions. And ultimately that's because there's a plan and there's an agenda to all of this, right? They want people to be eating bugs and rodents, and just, they're going to do this through the means of climate change, right? And to be eating lab grown meat, right? They'll ultimately, what they do is they get a cell and they replicate that cell and keep replicating it, and they get that meat, which is literally just that's crazy, right? It's literally not even an actual animal. But just look at the craziness that this devil is conjuring up. Right? Imagine having to eat that. How would you keep the Passover with lab grown lamb? Right? It's impossible at that point. And it's gonna get to that point where it's lab grown, right? They're gonna want you eating rats and fucking insects and bullshit, and the state this nation is just going to shit, right? And people in this world, they don't want that, but we know that the elect, ultimately, that's what we're looking for, right? As shit gets worse and worse, we're rejoicing because the kingdom is getting closer and closer. But the main point was that, how it says right here, the children of Israel are going to eat the defiled bread among the Gentiles. So knowing this, we have to make sure that we're not just putting bullshit into our systems, and we have to take care of ourselves, right? And be wise at the end of the day. So that was all for me today. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to the elect. Shalom.